Travis Wingutso. Ist das Opium des Volks? How is my Hogan's Heroes German coming along? It is often rendered as religion is the opiate of the masses. The full context: religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. And everybody gets that wrong as to what it means by Karl Marx. He's not talking about religion being good. He's not talking about religion being bad. He is talking about religion being good in its capacity to be bad. So it's even worse than you thought. And the use of drugs with religion is the danger I am going to be talking about in this video about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. First, drugs. We know of the consequences of those who do the hard drugs, your PCP, cocaine, heroin, etc. People take them for the rush, the high, and then they have a fall. That's the withdrawal period. That's where their bodies say, I need more, I need more, I need more, give me more, I'm getting upset, give me more, I'm getting violent, give me more. And it shows how that cycle of addiction harms people as well as others when they do drugs and go through withdrawals. So it's a difficult thing when society rebels and takes drugs underground when the laws are designed to protect people against the drugs that cause harm to themselves and society. And so you get the people who do drugs wanting it to be legalized because they show that everything's fine. There's no crime when it's legalized. No duh. And without anyway. The field of psychology, likewise, in psychiatry, prescribe drugs, psychotropic drugs. They're very much the same as the hard drugs. They change and alter people's behavior. That's what they're designed for, is that they've been sent to a psychiatrist because whoever disapproves of their behavior. So whether it's your parents to a child or a government agency taking away the rights of an individual rather than having them go through due process in the justice system, psychiatrists are there to only control behavior. They have no interest or desire in what goes on in the brain. None. They're performing human experimentation. And that's the danger that Karl Marx is referring to as he's using a psychological justification for drugs in comparison with religion. And the manner in which it works, I've gone over with you in other videos, but we're repeating it here for this one. Psychologists, therapists, and psychiatrists all just sit you down and talk with you. They don't do any hard science measurements within your brain. So all their claims about being scientific, no, they lie to you. It's a bold-faced lie. They talk with you. And if they designate according to their opinion, which is influenced by government or parents of children, etc., they will name call you. Yeah, just like bullies. Designate you in a specific category box of mental illness, a behavioral problem. And once they've done that, they then justify treating you accordingly. And if it's required because of the severe re-education to alter your behavior, they will do so with drugs from pharmaceutical companies who are wanting patients to test their new drugs on. And if you're familiar with the pharmaceutical companies, they keep doing advertisements for drugs, and then you see months later a legal commercial saying if you've taken this drug and experienced death, contact us, you may be available for a settlement. And so the pharmaceutical companies pay out a minor slap on the wrist fine to those victimized, and they just repackage the product with a new name, and back to the commercials they go. It's the exact same drug. There might be a few tweaks, but you'll see that they have to put in, and while they're showing people having a happy, fun life, the disclaimers of may cause death. And so a person who is trapped, held hostage by them, who gets drugged, over the course of time, the drugs take over the body, just like an actual druggie on hard drugs, such that when the drugs start to wear off and it's time to take more drugs, they go through withdrawal symptoms. This is done purposely and timed purposely by the psychiatrist to show to the individual that the psychiatrists and the therapists are all correct with their name calling of them. See, we told you you were bipolar. See, you're going through withdrawal symptoms, but they don't tell you it's because of the drug that's causing the chemical imbalance. And so when you take the drugs, you're on a high. When you're needing a fix, you're on a low. And thus bipolar. They've conned you into that trap. And it's designed to get people in it long enough, because remember, there is no cure. Only Brian David Mitchell has been cured of mental illness in order to be tried in the federal court system for kidnapping and raping Elizabeth Smart. But the psychologists are kind of upset with the federal government on that issue, because it kind of exposed them as their whole practice is a fraud, a dangerous, deadly fraud. Right here in New York, or in Utah. And so the longer you can keep a person drugged, the more of an example, a poster child they are to psychology, justifying their existence. And they've brainwashed the government and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that they're good and can help the government and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with certain problems that may come every so often. It's the same war crime used in World War II Nazi Germany to the Jews. Jews first locked up Jews claiming they were mentally ill, and so they needed to perform human experimentations to try out drugs and tortures and other sorts of treatments. Then the whole concentration camp thing kicked in so that they could do human experimentations on Jews, whether or not they want to classify them as mentally ill or not. This was the abuse that Nazi Germany did to justify human experimentation. And so then we get into Russia in the 60s, and they took from Nazi Germany, oh, we can do this to our political opponents. That sounds like a good idea. And so political opponents would get locked up under the conditions of, oh, well, they're mentally ill. How dare they run against us? There must be something wrong with them. And then perform human experimentations on their political opponents. And so Russia under Putin, yeah, he locked up his political opponent. But in this particular case, he's a terrorist rather than mentally ill. And so you can see the evil that psychology is on people, and how Karl Marx was the author of all of this as it's being performed right here in Utah. And so how does the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints do it? Well, the same way that all religion does it. It's just the church does it to the extreme. They use the brainwashing trigger of Jesus. Family, love, all those trigger words. And if you're unfamiliar with psychology, they repeat over and over again, you're mentally ill, 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 until you accept it. And if you don't accept it, they'll sometimes influence drugging on you to help you. See, you're mentally ill. See the withdrawal symptoms you're going through because we drugged you? Yeah. But in religion, unless they hand out Kool-Aid for the sacrament, they have to use a psychological warfare on the membership. And so you'll see the church structure. You go in, you have hymns. You have an opening and a closing at a minimum. And occasionally a bishop will have an intermediate hymn or a performance involving a hymn. That's part of the mental trap that they set, because music is well known for its brainwashing capabilities. Not just in Buck Rogers in that one episode. I was so disappointed with season 2. It was like, this isn't Buck Rogers anymore. This is now turning into Battlestar Galactica. What's going on? What happened to Buck? I thought Wilma was supposed to be hitting on Buck, and now she's pimping him out to other women. What's going on? What's that Mormon up to? Glenn A. Larson or Glenn L. Larson? I think A, because I think L is the member of the 70. Regardless. And so then you have prayers, opening and closing prayers. Well, prayers are idol-worshipping prayers, as I've taught you, when you do not understand that prayer is a communication with the spirit intelligence, where you get ideas and you work to make those ideas into reality. And so priesthood, when they give blessings, they're actually supposed to be getting inspiration for the individual as to what to do for why they needed the blessing. Or the priesthood holder is the one who will get the inspiration and will inform the person of what they need to do to heal themselves or other situations. It's not witchcraft. Who the hell taught you it was witchcraft? And so, for a case example, in my first marriage, Melissa, we had moved back to Rexburg so I could finish Rick's College, get the associate's degree, and we're staying at my grandma's because Grandpa had died, and she was in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, as we learned in retrospect. But one morning for breakfast, Stephanie was feeding Melissa, giving her a bottle of milk, but Melissa wasn't keeping it down. She kept throwing up the milk, and Stephanie was getting worried because she needs to eat, and if she's not eating, something's going to be bad for the consequences. And so she said to me, "You're the priesthood holder, what do I do?" And so I listened, got an idea. What kind of milk are you giving her? Well, it was the whole milk, not the 2%, 1%, or skim milk. And so I said, "Well, have you tried a lesser percentage of milk, the 1%, 2%, or skim?" And she went, oh, no, I haven't tried that. And so she tried that, and ta-da! Amazing. That's how priesthood works. It's that simple. It's not witchcraft. It's not supernatural stuff of magical powers. It's just science. You get an idea, you implement it. And so a person who is good with the priesthood is good with listening and producing good results. Not somebody of a high rank in the church or in priesthood or whatever excuses Mormons have for changing the doctrine. And so prayer, likewise, it's a little difficult when you're speaking for the group rather than your own personal or your family needs. But likewise, the person's supposed to be listening and getting inspired as to what to say. And so Mormons have often said no when asked to give prayers. It's because Mormons are not inspired. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. And so they keep quiet in Sunday school, and etc. And so they're prime targets for brainwashing. That's a weakness that is exploited in the church. And so then you have talks, and the talks likewise, they're all using the code words: Jesus, love, family, etc. And Mormons don't hear and comprehend what they are listening to in the talks. A case in point is General Conference. Mormons hear what they want to hear, not what was actually said, by breaking down the grammatical structure of the sentences used in the context of the whole talk. And so you have President Ezra Taft Benson in his solemn assembly to the Aaronic priesthood, to the youth of the noble birthright, where he quotes from President President Spencer W. Kimball in his book The Miracle of Forgiveness, which quotes from Elder Packer at the time in a General Conference talk, in which he says that pregnant women are an abomination. That's not the actual word, but it's very similar. He included pregnant women along with other sex sins. And all Mormons miss that, but they also miss R-rated movies. Because everybody knows Mormons are not allowed to watch R-rated movies, right? Wrong. That's not what he said. That's not what any of them said. Because the sentence keeps going. And everybody misses that, and nobody understands and comprehends English grammar well enough to understand that there's more to the meaning of the sentence than just don't watch R-rated movies. It's don't watch R-rated movies that are. And so, yes, it's okay to watch R-rated movies if you understand it in the context that even he brought out at near the end of the talk, Article of Faith number 13. Anything good, virtuous, lovely, of good report, praiseworthy, we seek after these things. So, yes, women, we seek after you. And then you have the ritual performances in the sacrament meeting. And that's why we call it the sacrament, because it's differently understood than in Catholicism that has sacraments for the whole rituals that are performed. So when Mormons are talking to Christians or Catholics and we say, oh yeah, we had sacrament meeting, Catholics are like, which one? And we have to include bread and water, and then they'll go, oh, communion. That's their version of it. And so the rituals are never properly explained, because the broken body of Jesus, where was Jesus' body broken? That's weird. Why do we break the bread in remembrance of the body of Jesus if Jesus' body was never broken? See, the church never explains this to us, or the origin from which Osiris of the Egyptian theology had his body broken by Set, who became Satan, King Set, in Paleo-Hebrew, the adversary, for which his body was gathered from the four corners of the earth by Isis's missionaries, the bride of Osiris, the wife of Osiris, and the assembling of the body, the congregation of the church, is to give birth to the Christ of the latter days. Yeah, we're not Christian. We don't think of Christ in terms of Christian Christ. But the church doesn't want us to know the truth. They're the great and abominable church, guys. This is why they use the brainwashing techniques on you. And I've done that video on my Restoring Joseph Smith's Church of Christ channel, which Mormons are showing that they are bigots, haters, that if they aren't accepted as being true by everyone, then they justify themselves in attacking people. And this is what the church does with their brainwashing, is they incite Mormons to hate other people, other religions. That if you're not supporting Mormonism, you're the enemy. When the church lies to Mormons, they deceive them. And Mormons have been fully brainwashed to not recognize that they have been betrayed by their own prophet leaders. And so they then become the weapons of the leaders to incite to violence even. You know, holy wars are because of this. You get leaders in religion to brainwash their masses into thinking that another religion is the enemy and must be destroyed, and thus you get holy wars. The prophets of the church do this same thing. As you see it I see it on my channels on YouTube. People attack because they don't like it that I'm exposing the church for their crimes, their lies, and deceptions. Even YouTube employees are aiding and abetting the criminal behavior of the church. They shut down Travis Wayne Goodsell. And it was over the video, False Christ of the Great and Abominable Church. Yeah, no reason to shut it down, but they did it anyway, because it exposed the church. I was getting too many views that were upsetting the prophets, and they ordered my channel to be shut down early, because I'm destroyed. I've gotten word now that yes, it will come. There is a coming day soon where I will be fully destroyed, and I will be gone from the internet. I will be gone from this apartment building. It is certain. This is the evil of Mormons, that they cover up their lies, deception, crimes with violence, with further crime. That's the evil, danger, and harm they cause. And notice they all say that they're the good guys. They're the one true church. To justify being evil. This is brainwashing at its best, which is its worst, which is what Karl Marx was really trying to tell us. Religion is awesome because you can use it for evil. All those oppressed people, yeah, you can succor them. You can control the masses. The victims, the weak, the vulnerable. Religion is that tool. So, I hope you understand the danger now of religion when it turns evil, and recognize it rather than fall prey to it. Just as I hope you can recognize how our whole society has been controlled by psychology, psychologists, creating a dichotomous categorization. You're either the one or the other, and whether it's government, religion, or community or business, they all tell you to cope with it rather than fix the problem, which apparently for severe crimes we need our government to help us, and they aren't. Our whole justice system has failed us because only the rich and the influential are the ones who are able to get justice, whereas the rest of us get locked up and tortured until we confess so that we can be released, but our lives have now been destroyed, as they now have us labeled as criminal and blah blah blah. So never confess, never admit guilt, demand a trial. And unfortunately, Utah purposely wants to keep certain people from having trials. Now, if you're a criminal, yes, confess. Dear God, don't try to get away with your crimes. I'm talking about the innocent people who are being victimized wrongfully. But, yeah, we're on the brink of civil war because of psychologists. Did you not catch on? It's not people choosing to be deep state Dems or MAGA Nazis. Psychologists put you into those categories. The leaders of those different groups use psychology to put you into those groups, to string you along, to purposely manipulate you through this whole process. And it's been done, for quite a long time now, huh? 2000 election? 50-50, huh? Half of America are for deep state Dems, half of America are for the pre-MAGA. They know exactly what they're doing to you. They've been doing it for quite a long time. It's just Nazi Germany brought it out as to how to use it as a war crime. And so, don't be deceived by deep state Dems who are segregating and discriminating when they talk about, we are welcoming everybody, separate but equal. That's still a hate crime. And of course, MAGA, if you're not white, you're not right. All of those philosophies are wrong. And if you understood the true philosophy of life, the truth, you would not be deceived when people come along with the false principles or doctrines that they try to trick you into believing, so that you can become a sucker and a loser. And so, Canada, dear God, even Canadians got brainwashed. That's where I was taught about logical argument, doing proper scientific research, and Canada has now fallen prey to psychology. They stormed their capital. Canadians, of all people, Canada is now going through a revolution. It's now an emergency crisis at the Canadian capital. And why? Because the people don't want to wear masks. They're anti-science. Well, how did that happen? Psychologists. They're the evil behind all this. And so the government are like, what the hell? We're under attack by our own people that we're trying to save? And so, Canadians are now viciously violent people, when they've been known for being peace-loving people. It's the end of the world. You shouldn't feel fine, if you know that song. I should probably talk about the withdrawal symptoms of the brainwashing of the church. As in drugging, withdrawal symptoms justify the psychologist or the psychiatrist into the name-calling category that they gave the person. Likewise, the church, they have all these lists of commandments. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, you must do this, you must do that. So when people go home from church, they are on a high. They've been brainwashed. The trigger words and the feelings have been activated with the hymns and the rituals that are not understood. And they go home, and then by the end of the week, it's time for another fix. Got to get to church. I'm losing the spirit. You don't lose the spirit. It means you're not listening to the spirit in the first place. This is the trap. And this is why I had the scripture. I'm ending early, and I shouldn't be. This needs to be long. Or you go to the temple, and again, the same type of high. and it's been a while since you've been to the temple, and you feel a loss in your soul, and that's the fix, that's the withdrawal symptoms you're going through, because you don't know the Spirit. You don't know the truth. You've been brainwashed. You've been mentally drugged. And the church preys upon you for that. The E, not the A. And so when you commit a sin because of your ignorance, you've been brainwashed, and so you go about your normal life, and oops, you bought a Mountain Dew and you drank it. Oh no, you're now a sinner because you violated the word of wisdom according to the mythology of Mormonism. And so what happens after that is that you either, as a brainwashed Mormon, think, I'm hopeless, I'm lost, I'll never be exalted now, and you slump into a depression, and you stop participating in church, even though you still go through the motions. Oh, I'm so evil, I can never be forgiven. That one sip of Mountain Dew has cost me my soul. Now, obviously, I'm exaggerating here. There's others that Mormons associate with. So I hope you understand that Mountain Dew is a metaphor, because it's fully approved by God in Moses chapter 7. I did that video for you. That was hilarious. Mountain Dew approved by God. Why isn't Mountain Dew coming to me to use this as an advertising gimmick? But anyway, that's one condition that Mormons respond with, is that they think they've got no hope. They're completely lost and fallen. The next is that, oh no, I've committed sin. I need to immediately go to my bishop to seek forgiveness and repentance to get back in the good graces of the church. And in those particular cases, such people become more Nazi-ish in their strict obedience and adherence to their own created commandments, because the only commandment is love. And so instead they say, I'm banning all Mountain Dew and all other soda pop. Soda pop is now evil. I'm banning soda pop. They go to that extreme. And it's a hedge creation, like the Pharisees used. They created hedge laws around the law of Moses to protect people as their justification for it. And then Jesus comes along and violates all the hedge laws. And the Pharisees are furious. You're violating our hedge laws. You're the sinner. Hedge laws. And they're worthless if they are used to hate people rather than to love. And so you'll see Mormons who impose their morality, their standards and values onto other people. Oh, I don't drink soda pop anymore. I fell by drinking Mountain Dew, and so now I've learned my lesson. I'm banning all soda pop, and you are only going to encourage me to drink soda pop, and so we can't be friends. I can't associate with you because you are a soda pop drinker. Again, I'm using one example as an extreme case, but yeah, you can all recognize it with someone else and something else. Mormons now hate other people who don't share their same standards and values or morality or religious views. This is the evil danger of the church. They've forgotten love is the only commandment to obey. But they have been led to believe that they are a sinner for violating hedge laws. So in Alma chapter 4, the battle with the Lamanites has ended. This is where the Amalekites had betrayed the Nephites and joined the Lamanites in attacking the Nephites, and so there was a great destruction in the land. That was the cause. The Amalekites separated from the Nephites to attack them and betray them. Verse 2 of chapter 4 of Alma. But the people were afflicted, yea, greatly afflicted, for the loss of their brethren, also the loss of their flocks and herds, and also for the loss of their fields of grain, which were trodden under foot and destroyed by the Lamanites. The Lamanites caused it. If you're unfamiliar with the pride cycle that's been abusively circulated in the church by a seminary teacher who made it popular and has now been put in the manuals, the pride cycle says that when you're righteous and good, you're prosperous and rich. That should have been a trigger for all Mormons. No, this isn't right. We shouldn't embrace it. We should dismiss this. This is wrong. But nonetheless, the pride cycle. And so, by being prosperous and rich, you then get lazy and you violate hedge laws. And when you violate hedge laws and are lazy learners, you then are committing serious sins for which the consequences are destruction. And then once you're destroyed or punished for being a sinner of hedge laws, you then have to be more Nazi-ish in your obedience, have your agency taken from you because you can't have free agency because you just commit sin. So you need your agency taken from you. That is the true plan of happiness for you. Take away your agency to be controlled, because that's the only way you can be saved as mortal. And then you're prosperous and rich again, pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. You see how evil that pride cycle is by that one seminary teacher who was he? And it was back a long time ago. The pride cycle was taught to me in seminary when I was back in the 80s. And so earlier than that, for whoever it was that talked about the pride cycle. I don't know if Google search would identify the first use of the pride cycle. But let's find out. So lots of images. And yeah, churchofjesuschrist.org media image. churchofjesuschrist.org. The cycle of righteousness and wickedness. It's all over the place, and this is a PDF version of it. Oh, dear God. Yeah, that's the official church's cycle from the seminary teacher. Oops. Pure evil. And so, lesson 17, Helaman 1 through 12, the pride cycle. You see? It's the video. We've got a video for it. Are we allowed to download the video? Picture's no longer available. That's weird. So let's see. Here's a video. Wilford W. Anderson in 2017. No. There's 2012, 2016. No. Here's the Pride Cycle video. 2007. Download. Do the 480. Waiting for lightning to strike. Ah, good. Okay, I've got it. Prodigal son. That's interesting. Who is this guy? This is the church's site. Huh. So I was just curious because it had Steve's simulation on there. But this is the church. And then they've got Faust speaking the weightier matters of the law. It's just love, Faust. Love. I humiliated you on the tracks train that one morning. I'm doing it after your death. Love. Yes, I was going to the University of Utah at the time. I took an easy A class because I had already taken the class at a real school up in Canada about philosophy of religion. So the University of Utah was doing a philosophy of religion course. And, they've got a 1080p for the prodigal son. Cool. And we were having our final, and it was where, I'm not sure if he was Mormon or Christian. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between a Mormon and a Christian these days. I'm not sure if I have the prodigal son already. I have I still have to go through my files and organize them, but apparently I'm not going to find the source origin for the pride cycle, but you can see that the church fully embraces it. And I just explained it to you as how evil it is. But he was dominating the class, turning all the students against the teacher, as they were pushing for Christianity to be the true one philosophy and dismiss Aristotle and others that have been developed over the centuries to show how to learn truth. Because creationism is not true, but Christianity have altered their understanding or interpretation of the passage of the creation and demand that science conform and comply to them. And so all science is wrong because they're against their created creationism. Creatio ex nihilo. Creation out of nothing. And so the teacher was not like the teacher I had up in Canada, who was able to control the class when they thought that they could get out of control with Christianity. He put them right in their place right quick. He knew how to do it. This teacher, brand new to the course, got eaten alive. And it was sad and pathetic to watch, as the University of Utah was going through that kind of a crisis in other courses. You probably remember the one about the drama department for acting. The one Mormon girl refused to play another character because it wasn't a good character of Mormon standards and values. And so she refused and demanded that the course be changed to have everything happy and positive for her training and education as an actress. If you don't want to play other characters, then don't go into the field. But nonetheless, she sued and chaos ensued. And so, yeah, I got to talk about Faust, don't I? I already did the video. I think it's on Travis Wayne Goodsell channel. My Time with James E. Faust, I think was the title, but regardless. And so that morning we're having our final, and so I am on the tracks train. Another classmate sees me and knows that I've contributed in class, trying to help the teacher, but yeah, I got booted off of his little web page that they had back then. It was before web pages now. I don't know what it was called, but I tried to join it because the teacher promoted him. Oops. And promoted his thing. And so I tried to get on there to try to teach the proper techniques of argument for the discussion, and boom, I was instantly attacked and banned. But yeah, I was going over the material for her, trying to help her understand. She seemed lost, but then an elderly man came out of the crowd, and it was a full packed train, and there were people standing up in the aisles. It was all blocked, and he interrupts me by saying, "Oh, philosophy, that's a fun subject." And I can't remember what he initiated, whether it was, "So what is it you're learning about?" And that could have been what it was. And so I started telling him. And all of a sudden, I was clueless to what was going on around me. Everybody was listening to me. Because everybody else knew who it was talking to me. And I was clueless at the time. And I was getting to the point where I outdid him. He sunk back into the crowd and then got off at his stop. I confounded him, as he was all excited about philosophy, and then boom. And I think he even talked about philosophy in a conference talk thereafter. It would have been the April conference. We need to look that up. But then we turned in the train to go up to the university, and then I was the woman lost interest in listening to me. She knew who that was. And so she got off the train and beelined it away from me when we got there, and then found her friends and clung with them, and she most likely failed. So it would have been 2000 to 2009, and wouldn't have been 2004. So it was 2 years. So it was 2002. Well, no, it was 2004 to 2006. Okay. So maybe April 2005. Dun, 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 dun. Perseverance was Faust's talk for that. Oh, standing in holy places, he did too. Look at you. So perseverance for the priesthood session. Perseverance. Or was it standing in holy places? Let's check perseverance. Let's be very curious to know. Who keep going when the going gets tough. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. He must have just watched that movie. There he's placating the priesthood. Flattery, pacification, and deception. Those are the tools of Lucifer. Why do Mormons want to use those? They tell me on my videos, if you would just flatter, pacify, and deceive us, Travis, we might be more receptive to your message. Seriously? Dear God. And so, yeah, I didn't realize who it was. I went, wait a minute, was that who I think? Oh, no. My time with James E. Faust. It's not looking like it. Granite High School, drama, music, speech. See, he learned to be a bad guy. And he died under a lunar eclipse. I told you guys, God does not approve of him. Entrepreneurs. This could be what I learned from this, if this was it, is that he was telling me that philosophy is not a good career field to go into, because he lists doctors, engineers, educators, lawyers, scientists, businessmen, artisans, electricians, plumbers, entrepreneurs. Success is usually earned. Yeah, it's going to take me too long to figure it out, I guess. But, you have no idea how much I've influenced your lives, either indirectly, as in this example, or directly. And so, you can't change truth with belief, even religious belief. But religion incites their membership to destroy truth, destroy science. And Canada's now doing it. They're destroying science and overthrowing their government because they have been incited by psychos. And so the Nephites are destroyed. And so great were their afflictions, as we're continuing in verse 3, that every soul had cause to mourn. Oh, they're depressed. They need to see a psychiatrist to cope with the destruction. And they believed, ta-da, that it was the judgments of God. God punished us for our wickedness and our abominations. It had nothing to do with the Lamanite hatred. to seek to destroy us. And so they began to establish the church more fully, like Nazis, becoming strict obedient to hedge laws, taking away their agency, to make sure that they don't get destroyed again. And yet they are setting it up for destruction again because of Lucifer's plan of happiness always leads to destruction and misery, which is the definition of hell. And once you're miserable, psychologists swoop in like vultures. Oh, you're depressed? We have drugs for you. And when you take them, you feel like you're on a high, and then when it's time to take them again, you're going to feel depressed and miserable again. That's the withdrawal symptoms. We're helping you to cope with drugging. But no drugging here. Just a psychological warfare that they did on themselves because of their false beliefs. So, now I got it all, right? So understand, when the prophet gets up and says something wrong, you know they are your enemy. You know now they are trying to hurt you and harm you. So when Gordon B. Hinckley gets up at conference and talks about Thomas B. Marsh getting excommunicated, defending the honor of his wife, Gordon B. Hinckley is trying to harm you. He lied to you. He's the president of the church. He's supposed to know church history, not perpetuate the lies. Thomas S. Monson got up, said the same lie about Thomas B. Marsh. He was all, be kind to each other, when he wants you to hurt other people. They say one thing, but they don't mean it. They are inciting you to hate and violence. Because what he did was get Mormons to attack other people. You hate us, and so we are justified in hurting you, causing you harm. Because you don't like us. You are anti-Mormon. You're seeking to harm us by exposing the truth. This is how evil Mormons are and have become. And you cannot turn people around except through destruction. But you see, in this particular case, they had no Alma and Amulek when this occurred. Alma 32. And it came to pass that they did go forth and began to preach the word of God unto the people, entering into their synagogues and into their houses, yea, and they did preach the word in their streets. And it came to pass that after much labor among them, they began to have success among the poor class of people, the people who have been destroyed. For behold, they were cast out of their synagogues because of their coarseness of apparel. Therefore, they were not permitted to enter into their synagogues to worship God. Synagogues? That's a Jewish thing. Why are Jewish synagogues in the Book of Mormon when it should be churches of Jesus and temples to Jesus? Right? Esteem them as filthiness. Therefore they were poor. Yea, they were esteemed by their brethren as dross. Therefore they were poor as to the things of the world, and also they were poor in heart. And so in this particular case, it's showing what needs to be done after destruction. After a Mormon falls from disobeying the hedge laws of the church. You need to have somebody come in, teach them the correct doctrine. So what does Alma do? Yeah, it starts with faith. You've had the wrong faith. This is the correct faith. That was not available to the Nephites destroyed during the betrayal of the Amlicites. And so they continued in the pride cycle, the false belief cycle. Right here, we are taught how to stop the false belief cycle. Is that once people are destroyed, are broken by psychology, you need somebody to teach them the truth. Psychologists don't do this. They teach you to cope rather than teach you what correctly happened. For example, you're a victim of rape. You go to a psychologist, they teach you how to cope with it. What you need to heal is to have that man locked up. All of a sudden you're cured. That's amazing. He's no longer a threat to you. But instead, our society, Utah specifically, just tosses the rape kits into a back corner, get to them when they're pressured by society. Oh, you want us to do them, huh? Well, I don't know why. Statute of limitations is over with. Why should we even bother now? And so all these rapists are getting away with rape here in Utah, as women are victimized. And women who are victims are not properly taught the truth that it was that one man who raped you. So women then assume all men are rapists, and they start being abusive towards all men. The Nazi behavior. You don't conform to my standards and values, you're evil. I can't associate with you. When all you needed was the police to lock up the guy who attacked you. Truth, not falsehood. Not being left to yourself to be traumatized with no help, or especially being abused further by a psychologist telling you to cope with it. How to go to church with your rapist sitting beside you. How to cope with being in a marriage with your abusive husband who beats you. Not who doesn't take out the trash. That's not abuse. You squeeze the toothpaste from the middle. You're abusing me. I want out. Leave him alone. If he beats you, leave him. Lock him up. But if he doesn't do what you tell him to do, you're the problem. I speak from experience on this. So, does that help you? Do you now understand how evil religion is? Do you now understand how much our whole nation is in great jeopardy as it's spread throughout the world, even to Canada now? Now do you understand what it means that religion is the opiate of the masses? He is a bad man who had bad ideas, and we should not be embracing them.